Hello everyone, welcome to the 14th Complete Chess series. Today we're going to continue to talk about tactics, and this will be our last class on tactics. Previously, we talked about using tactics to gain material advantage, or to checkmate the opponent's king directly. Now today I want to talk about position advantage. So position advantage means that our pieces are cooperating or on better squares than their opponent's pieces in general. Sometimes we might have equal material or even less material than the opponent, but because our piece's efficiency is better than the opponent's, we are actually in advantage. Let's begin with looking at the example of the Queen's Gambit. White plays d4, black plays d5, white plays c4. Now we see that this c4 pawn is unprotected and black can directly take this pawn for free. Obviously, this is why this opening is called the Queen's Gambit. Black can take this pawn directly, and it is not a bad move. Black can obviously play this, but later on black has to give this pawn back in order to achieve a good position, or else black will get into a lot of trouble. Let's see. If white plays e3 and threatening to take this pawn, black has two ways to protect the pawn. One is by playing bishop to e6. When black plays bishop e6, although it protects this pawn, white can keep on playing knight to d2, keep on threatening to capture this pawn. Well then, black can play queen to d5, protect this pawn, but we see that it is very awkward to move the queen to the center of the board at an opening. Later on, in the future, white can play e4 to attack this queen, or when white manages to capture this pawn with this bishop, it is also attacking this queen, which is very annoying for black. Now black can also play pawn to b5 to protect this pawn. Then white can play the white pawn to a4, threatening this b5 pawn. The later variations are a little bit complicated. Black in the end might be able to manage to hold the c4 pawn and maintain his material advantage, but black will make a lot of useless moves and help white develop. Let's look at another line that black can play. So when white plays pawn to e3, another way to protect this pawn is by playing pawn to b5. Now immediately, white can play pawn to a4 to attack this b5 pawn. If black plays pawn to a6, well, it's not actually protecting this b5 pawn, because when white captures, when black captures black, white gets to take this a8 free rook. So in the move beforehand, black cannot capture this pawn back, and therefore it is meaningless to play this a6. Another way to protect this b5 pawn over here is to play pawn to c6. And yes, white directly captured this pawn, black captures it back. Then white has a beautiful move, queen to f3, attacking this a8 rook on this diagonal. Now we see that black is in a very awkward position. There is no way to defend this rook. This rook cannot escape. We see it is blocked in its both directions. It cannot be protected. I mean, there's literally no piece for black to protect this rook on a8, and there's no way to put a piece on this diagonal to block white from capturing this rook. The best move for black to minimize its loss is maybe to play knight to c6. Then white happily captures this knight to c6 with a check. Black plays bishop d7, now protecting its rook. But we see that black is actually now giving up a free knight, and white is now in great advantage. So we see from the beginning that this pawn sacrifice has led to a position advantage for white if black chooses to hold on this pawn and not let it go. Now of course, if black simply plays something else like knight f6 and let white capture this pawn back, it will still be a long game and black is pretty good in position 2. Now let's look at another example. So this is one variation from the French opening. Black has just made wrong move castle. Now white has a very beautiful tactic to help gain a position advantage. White can play bishop to h7, piece sacrifice. Now black has to take the bishop, obviously it's a free bishop, and now white plays knight g5. If black kings move back to its original square, then white plays queen to h5. We see that for the next move, queen to h7 checkmate is inevitable. There's no way to block this queen from moving to h7, no way to capture this knight or to capture this queen, and no way to defend this h7 square. If black simply plays something just as rook to e8, leaving a square for the king to escape, white can play queen to f7, check, black moves the king back, queen to h5, check again, black moves his king back, white can play queen to h7, check, black moves his king away, white play queen to h8, check, black blocks it with the knight, white plays knight to h7, check, the black king moves to the center, and the white captures this pawn. We see now black's pieces are very awkward. At the beginning of the opening, the king is at the center, and this knight is literally doing nothing. Although white has sacrificed a bishop over here on h7, it has successfully taken back 2 pawns, so white is not down material too much. It is down by only 1 point. And we see that these 2 pieces, the queen and the knight, are very active. They are deep into black's territory and threatening black pieces. And right now, white is threatening to play bishop to g5, attacking the queen and the king at the same time. Now, most likely, black is going to hold material advantage for a while, and black is not going to be checkmated. But this is definitely a better position for white. Now, at this position, there's another option for black, and that is to play king to g6. Black uses this king to defend this h5 square. But now white can play queen to g4. This is threatening this king over here, preparing to play knight to e6 and capturing the queen. Black can play f5. So when white plays knight to e6, black captures the white queen. Even though you get to capture the black's queen, you lose the queen first, and in the end, you will lose too much material. Now white can play en passant, capturing this pawn, removing this pawn continuously to threatening to play knight to e6, and black capture this pawn back, and white can play whatever something else. It's a complicated game, but we see that this king is already moved up 2 lines from its original square, and it has lost 2 guard pawns right in front of it. It is very dangerous over here, and white can definitely take advantage over it. The techniques and the moves are a little bit complicated. I will not go into details in this class, but you just have to remember the conclusion that it is definitely white better in this position, although white is down in material. And in the end, thanks for listening to this tactic series. I hope you learned something from it.